The Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe v. Wade within the next few weeks, before the end of the term, which ends the first week in July, likely. After nearly 50 years of legal abortions for those who want or need them, what will life be like for millions of women without that option? One of our next guests knows exactly what life was like when abortion was illegal across the nation. She was a member of the Jane Collective, a group of Chicago women who created an underground network for thousands of women, providing them access to safe abortions prior to the Roe ruling. So now HBO is releasing a timely documentary entitled The Janes, sharing a bit of their story.
We were very aware of the fact that women were suffering in a variety of ways because of abortion being against the law. Women did awful things out of fear and desperation. We knew that some would be injured, some would die. Many people around them, including children that they already had, would suffer. So we thought, we can be of use. You need an abortion, we'll help you. Call this number and ask for Jane.
The HBO documentary film The Janes debuts June 8th on HBO and HBO Max. And joining us now is The Janes director and producer Emma Pildes and director Tia Lesson. And also with us, a member of the Jane Collective, Laura Kaplan. Welcome all. So Laura, talk to me about how you got involved with The Janes.
Well, I had, in the fall of 1971, moved back to Chicago from New York. And my dear friend Alice needed an abortion, and she saw an ad in an underground paper in Chicago. Pregnant, don't want to be, call Jane with the phone number. And so she did. And after her abortion, she came to my apartment, and she was just ecstatic about the experience, that it was just a wonderful experience. And that pricked my interest. And she took me to meet her counselor, and they were starting a new training session. And that's how I joined.
So abortion, from people I know, is always challenging and a difficult decision for people. But what you're talking about is that providing a safe alternative rather than some of the underground ways that led to people being, physically harmed was what made it beneficial to her. Laura, is that correct?
Right, and it was not only a safe alternative, but it was an alternative that was very much centered on her and included an enormous amount of education about her body, about abortion, about birth control. It was a revelation to her, and her enthusiasm was what really moved me to want to get involved.
Emma, tell me about what drew you to wanting to tell the story of the Janes, a little known, or not widely known part of American legal history and medical history.
Yeah, I have a family connection to this story, so I always sort of knew about it. But, it's just, we so often don't hear about the female heroes of history. Those stories don't get told. So it was just such a compelling opportunity for us to give these women a platform, especially at this time. We're filmmakers. This is what we have to contribute to the fight. We believe in this medium to create empathy around the issue, to put people in other people's shoes, and we believe in these women. These are deeply moral women that wanted to save lives and could testify to what this country looked like last time. Women's bodily autonomy, they didn't have their own bodily autonomy, and they didn't have the right to choose.
And Tia, nearly 50 years later, Roe v. Wade likely to be overturned. So what do you hope that people take away from the film?
We hope that people, as Emma said, get a sense of what it was like, before we had, federal protection for abortion, and understand that this is our future. And, it may mean death sentences for many people who won't be able to access, affordable or safe legal abortion care. Because what we know and what we found in this film is when abortion is criminalized, it doesn't mean that women don't have abortions. It just means that they don't have access to safe abortions. So we hope this film is a cautionary tale and also an inspiration, to help people understand the stakes and to mobilize, for change.
So, Laura, one of the stories in the film that really stuck out to us was that a police raid in 1972, when your friends in the back of a police car ripped up sections of index cards with your patients' names and addresses and swallowed those index card pieces whole. What was at stake for those women? It sounds like a very desperate act, as well as your fellow Janes who were at the time committing regular felonies.
Right. All of us knew that we were committing felonies on a daily basis. I think the motivation of the women in the back of that police van was to protect the women who had contacted us in desperation. And I think that was really a motivating factor for all of us, was to protect the women who were putting their lives really in our hands.
And talk to me, Laura, about some of the alternative methods that were used then, if you can. What happened to people who didn't have this option?
Oh, just horrible, horrible things, because, there weren't shelves and shelves of books on women's health back in that day, in those days. And so women had and people in general had just very little knowledge about their bodies and how they worked. And so you got information from somebody in your neighborhood or a friend or a relative, and that information could be extremely dangerous. So, of course, we know all the pictures of coat hangers, but women tried all kinds of things and douching with Lysol. I mean, things that just caused such damage, that there were wards in major city hospitals, including in Chicago at Cook County Hospital, that were just for women suffering from septic abortions. And a lot of those women died. I talked to an old childhood friend who's a doctor who was an intern in a hospital in New York City before New York legalized abortion in 1970. And he told me, heartbreakingly, of the women who came in and there was really nothing could be done for them. And they died. Young women, not even just beginning their lives. I mean, it's just devastating to think about. And that we should go back to that cruelty and inhumanity is beyond my even comprehension.
Well, it is certainly about to become upon us, at least. We expect the decision, as I say, before the end of this term. Emma Pildes, Tia Lesson, Laura Kaplan, thank you so much. The HBO documentary film The Janes debuts June 8th on HBO and HBO Max.